Conservative activists want Republicans in Washington to kill the Biden-era kill switch mandate. This is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026.
Texas Scorecard presents the day's first news for the Lone Star State. The Texas Minute, with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.
Well, we've made it halfway through the week. Thanks for making the Texas Minute part of your Wednesday. It looks like a rare midterm national GOP convention will be coming to Dallas in September. More on what that will entail coming up. A coalition of conservative activists is warning that a Biden-era federal law mandating kill switches in vehicles poses serious constitutional violations. During the Republican Party of Texas convention last weekend, Terry Hall spearheaded an effort to bring attention to the issue, with delegates holding signs calling for the mandate's repeal. They were specifically focused on getting the message to U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, who chairs the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. Kill switches were originally introduced as a way to reduce traffic fatalities caused by drunk or otherwise impaired driving. Hall and her allies contend that the technology would, by necessity, constitute a violation of constitutional rights. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has said that no in-vehicle technologies have been developed yet to fulfill the law's mandates, and so rulemaking has not yet begun. Houston's city controller has launched a formal investigation into Mayor John Whitmire's senior advisor for financial integrity. Questions have been raised about Chris Brown's work attendance and output. A report from the Houston Chronicle found that Brown sent only a dozen outgoing emails in the first quarter of the year, with none of them appearing to involve fiscal policy or budget strategy. Controller Chris Holland said that Brown used his access card to swipe into city's facilities just 13 times across nearly 600 workdays. Brown's salary is just over $127,000. Holland said his office will examine what work Brown has actually performed over the roughly 2.5 years he's held the job. Holland is calling on the mayor to suspend Brown while the probe is underway. Earlier this week, 34 state representatives and 9 state senators filed a brief asking the Public Utility Commission of Texas to defer its decision on the need for any section of 3 proposed extra high-voltage transmission line routes. These extra high-voltage lines are supposed to bring power from East Texas to the energy-rich Permian Basin, which critics have equated to, quote, hauling water to the ocean. Lawmakers passed a limited plan the state agency bureaucrats and outside interests have expanded with minimal public input until now. The PUC is scheduled to hold a vote on the project's first segment later today. In their legal brief, lawmakers criticized the project. They said the lines would transport power but wouldn't add generation capacity or new supply in the Permian Basin. They also criticized the expanded plan for adhering to the left-wing political agenda that ranks environmental, social governance factors rather than taxpayer or investor benefit. A report from the Texas Public Policy Foundation, on the other hand, has found that the need for transmission lines could be reduced or eliminated by introducing 4 to 5 gigawatts of new natural gas generation in West Texas, which of course sits on a sea of natural gas and oil. The Texas Minute will be right back.
What are the important things out there in Texas politics and Texas news that matter to you, and what can you do about it? That's what we want to bring you with the Luke Macias Show on a weekly basis for 20 to 30 minutes. That way you can get the information and go do something for the rest of your week. I look forward to coming to you every Wednesday.
Republicans are expected to gather in Texas this fall for a rare midterm national convention, creating a national stage for President Donald Trump and the GOP to make their case to voters ahead of the 2026 elections. The event is reportedly scheduled for September in Dallas. It was all but confirmed this week when Attorney General Ken Paxton referenced the gathering during a teletown hall discussion on whether Trump would campaign in Texas on his behalf. The Republican National Committee has not yet formally announced the event, but party officials have been publicly discussing plans for a midterm convention for months. President Trump first floated the idea last year. National party conventions are typically held every 4 years during the presidential election cycles, where delegates from across the country gather to adopt a platform and formally nominate presidential and vice presidential candidates. Earlier this year, the Republican National Committee amended its bylaws to allow a midterm convention. The Dallas gathering would reportedly focus largely on speeches and messaging rather than formal party business. Sources familiar with the planning say organizers intend to use the event to highlight the Trump administration's accomplishments and contrast them with Democrat policies ahead of the November elections. So you can keep up with the latest news impacting the Lone Star State by visiting TexasScorecard.com. This edition of the Texas Minute was based on the original reporting of Grant Hawk, Michael Wilson, Robert Montoya, and Brandon Waltons. Our producer is the great Nick Shepard. I look forward to seeing you out around the Lone Star State. Now, go make it a great day.